KWT slaying.
Salama family, salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So today we're going to talk about my favorite topic. Well, one of my favorite topics is the real Jerusalem. And, for me, I just use common sense, you're right? I ask the right questions and I start digging through stuff. And, I personally, I could be wrong, but let's say for me, I'm 99.9% convinced that Lalibela is the real Jerusalem in Ethiopia. I'm 99.9%. So, there's that point of a 1% that anything could happen. So I say, for those who have the critical thinking skills, use your critical thinking skills, ask the right questions. We're going to look at a few videos now. I'm going to show a little video here with a little background music because I don't want to play these YouTube videos no more because I get tired of getting hit by YouTube, right? Told y'all to get on my last nerve. But so we're going to look at this. We're going to talk about some things and use your critical thinking skills. Act like you're Matlock or Columbo and, researching, trying to find the truth. Now, you ever been around people who have like, they lying, they know you lying, and everybody know they lying because the lie is so weak. You ever been around those type of people? It's like they lying, they know you lying, and they know that you know that they're lying. That's how I look at the people with the historical research and documentation on modern Jerusalem. Now, my theory is that the present day Jerusalem is really the land of the Philistines. That's why they call it Palestine, after the Philistines. That's my theory, right? And the Ethiopians, if you look at the history, they had connections over there as well, right? They had churches over there, things like that. And they, when you look at the history, they had territory that goes from what we call modern day Ethiopia or Abyssinia or Aksum all the way across to what we call Arabia, which would include part of what we call modern day Israel. So, we're going to talk about some of this. And so I'm going to show a video a little later of an Ashkenazi Jew talking about Ethiopia. And when you put all of the pieces together, right, it has to make sense, right? It has to make sense. And listen, when we get to it, I'm not going to show it right now, but listen to the things that he says, right? Listen to the things that he says and that he don't say. So that's what's important, what he says and what he don't say. Because what he don't say is a lot and what he says is a lot. Okay. So, but before that, I'm going to try something new. So I'm going to play some background music with this video so I don't use theirs. Let me know if it get on your last nerves, but that's how I'm going to try it. Right. Okay. Let's do it.
KWT slaying. WT slaying.
All right, family. So if you notice with the structures of Lalibela, a lot of effort was put into that. Now, according to the history and the mythology of Ethiopia, it was built by angels. Now, there's a level of sophistication to take granite rock and to break and all of that. Uh, it takes some sophistication. Now, I'm not saying man couldn't do that, but their mythology is that angels did it. But the question we have to ask, why would you spend the amount of time, the amount of effort to build 11 churches, quote unquote, right, out of solid granite rock? The theory is that because of the Muslims in present day Israel taking over the quote unquote Holy Land, the Ethiopians said, well, let's go build all of these granite type of churches, put all of this effort into building these granite churches when they could have just built anything. Put all of this effort into building granite churches because we needed another Jerusalem. So what they do is they call it the second Jerusalem. The second Jerusalem. I present that it is the original Jerusalem. Just like Africa is where the original people are from, the original Holy Land is in what? Sub-Saharan Africa. The original what? Zion is in where? Ethiopia. Now, there's a lot of things like I say, like if you do an investigation, if you do an investigation and look into the evidence, now you can only come away with one thing. I've already talked about the description of the Atreus letter, right? And how the Atreus letter describes Jerusalem. Ethiopia fits. I already showed you all how there's the silver trumpets and all of the things of the holy temple was what? In Jerusalem on an island. I've showed you that. Then I've showed you how when you look at the history of the people there, right? Because we know that according to the historians, the quote unquote black Jews, Ethiopian Jews, that's what they call them, Beta Israel, been there for 2,000 years. How are you going to be there for 2,000 years? And you building all this stuff, right? Now, we're going to look at something else. Okay, so Ethiopia is Jerusalem. So my contention is that this is the real original Jerusalem. And if you notice, there's a long history of these people. Now, let me ask you a question. The way that they dress, the way that they're sitting down around here, we're going to talk about this. Does this not remind you of a biblical setting? Does it not remind you of a biblical setting? Now, we looked at this in the videos, right? These hewn churches inside granite rock. So the prevailing lie, I call it a lie. The prevailing lie is that the Ethiopians, quote unquote, right? Because Ethiopian back then just meant black. It didn't mean the people who we're looking at today. But the prevailing idea is that they did all of this work because the Muslims took over the real Holy Land. The Muslims took over the real Holy Land. My contention is that the modern Israel is that fake Israel, right? The one that the Romans wanted to build so that people wouldn't come to the Holy Land anymore. Can you imagine? Let's assume today that we all knew that Ethiopia was the true location of Jerusalem. This is the true Jerusalem, the true Holy Land. Look how many visitors the real Holy Land gets. Now, Ethiopia already has a lot of people. Imagine if people understood this to be the Holy Land, how many people would be coming here, right? Now, if that was the case, and you had that kind of influx, and you can't kick them out because Italy tried to kick them out, right? Tried to take over the Holy Land. They couldn't, right? They did it for a short time and got kicked back out, right? Now, it's not surprising that Rome would once again try to take over the Holy Land, right? We talked about that. We talked about the history of Lalibela and of Ethiopia, of the Holy Land. So understand this, that when we look at these things, they talk about King Lalibela building this stuff, right? Maybe, maybe not, right? I know the town or the nation or whatever was named after Lalibela. But does that mean he built it? My contention is that this is the Holy Land. And for you all who haven't seen all of the other videos that I've done, you should go watch them, right? And so I'm not going to read all of this. I really just want to go through and show you some of the pictures and stuff, right? The level of effort and everything to do this. Now, in your mind, picture, yeah, exactly. Thank you, DT. Hadrian's Jerusalem is the modern Jerusalem. This is the real Jerusalem. Picture in your mind all the scriptures you know about Yeshua and the cultures and the people around it. It is here. Everything they do is biblically oriented, right? Now, there are pilgrimages that they make to Lalibela, and I'm going to show you a video. That's why I'm not reading through this, because I want you to all to hear this guy and what he says, right? Now, he goes with the mythology that the Ethiopians decided to create a second Jerusalem. Let me ask you a question, fam, before I continue. Yes or no? Does it make any sense that because the Muslims took over, quote unquote, modern Jerusalem, right, in the Middle East, that they decided, you know what, we're going to go ahead and build our own Jerusalem. We're going to go ahead and build our own second Jerusalem. We're going to call our river the River Jordan. We're going to call one of the locations over here Golgotha. We're going to do all these things, right, just because the Muslims are over there in the Middle East. Does that make any sense? I mean, people still went on pilgrimages and stuff to the Middle East. There was no reason to put effort into building these churches. 11 churches. 11 churches. Now, my contention is, and I can't prove it, my contention is that they had 12 representing the 12 tribes. Maybe one of those churches are gone. That's my contention. We know the history of the Jews in that area. We know the Beta Israel in that area. I've showed you videos of those people. The real Jews back there are dark, black, African-looking people, right? That's not the ones you see every day, right? So understand this. You're not going to spend the kind of effort to build this for a fake Jerusalem. You're just not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Now, I'm going to show you this video of this Gentile, right? Ashkenaz dude. And listen to what he says, right? Listen to what he says. They're gaslighting. They're gaslighting you. It makes no sense. I'm telling you, this is our land. This is Mount Zion. This is the Holy Land. I guess I could be proven wrong, but they're going to have to prove me wrong in the future because I'm convinced, right? So listen to what this guy says.
And they take it to Ethiopia. And Menelik, who is this, and this boy who is the son of King Solomon, becomes the ruler of Ethiopia. And Ethiopia now has the Ark of the Covenant. Remember, I showed you the priest with the Ark above his head, which is in every church, which is a replica of the Ark of the Covenant from the temple. And Ethiopia is the new Israel. These are names of Ethiopian Christian emperors. Amdatzion, the pillar of Zion. David. Yitzhak, Isaac. Zara Yaakov, the seed of Jacob. These are the names of Ethiopian Christian emperors. And so if you ask the Ethiopians, who are they? They said, we are descendants of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. We are descendants, our rulers until, what is it now? 40 years ago, our rulers are Israelites. And our capital, Aksum, is Zion, is Israel. Okay? It has the Ark of the Covenant. It is the city chosen by God.
I'm gonna have to pause just for a second because I gotta answer this question here. Okay, why would it be in Ethiopia when that's Hamitic territory? Ethiopia was not part of the land of Israel that was given to us. All right, I'm gonna try to be nice on this. Okay, I'm gonna try to be nice. All right. I have a question, family, for the scholars out there, family. For the scholars, can you help him out, please? Now he said it was Hamitic territory. I have a question. What is Canaan land, family? What is Canaan land? I just want to know. Somebody answer that for me, please. What is Canaan land, family? I'm gonna wait for you. I'm gonna wait for you. I'm waiting. Thank you. Land of Ham. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, fam. Thank you. That's Bible 101. Bible 101. But let's continue.
So what have we seen up to this point? In Africa, near the Red Sea, there was an ancient kingdom in which the people became Christians, but became Christians with especially strong association with the Bible and with the Israelite people. And the story that they told themselves, and we don't know from exactly when, the story that they told themselves was that they were descendants of ancient Israelites, that their kings were descendants of the wisest Israelite king, King Solomon, and that Aksum, the city that had been their capital from ancient times, was the New Jerusalem where the Ark of the Covenant was. Zion, remember a second ago. A ruler who calls himself, a Christian ruler who calls himself the pillar of Zion. Now, what is exactly this Zion? And what is the city Aksum? Well, one of the things that we know going back and looking at the Bible is that cities, first of all, the Hebrew word for city, Ir, is a feminine term. She, Ir Yafa, a pretty city. And we know that throughout the Bible, there are all sorts of places in the Psalms and the prophets in which various cities, not only Jerusalem, as we'll see in a moment, are depicted as a wife, as a sister, as a harlot, as a whore, as a widow, and as a young maiden. Perhaps a virgin. I'm not going to argue about the translation. So we see, for example, in the book of Lamentations, which was written after the first temple was destroyed, to what can I liken you that I may comfort you, virgin daughter Zion? Or in the book of the prophet Isaiah, this is the word of the Lord has spoken against him. Virgin daughter Zion despises and mocks you. Daughter Jerusalem tosses her head as you flee. Jerusalem wasn't the only city in the Bible personified as a woman. Again, we see that the city of Sidon, is that correct? Babylon, Tyre, Sur, are all characterized as women. Now you may be asking, why is he taking us on this? Because in Ethiopia, what develops out of this tradition that Jerusalem is, that Aksum is Zion, and that the Ethiopians are Israelites, and that the Ark of the Covenant is in Aksum, because the son of Solomon and Sheba brought it there, is an idea which connects the city of Aksum and the idea of Zion and the idea of the Ark of the Covenant with the Virgin Mary. A quote here from a 15th century Ethiopian Christian text. The golden ark is indeed the likeness of Mary, and the tablet the likeness of her womb. And the 10 Commandments, literally in Ethiopian, when you write the 10 Commandments, literally that translates as the 10 words, are the likeness of her son, who is the word of the Father. The Ark of the Covenant has in it the word of God. The womb, the body of the Virgin Mary, has in it the Word made flesh, Jesus. So they're the same, they're parallel. Zion, the Ark, the Virgin Mary. Another 15th century Ethiopian text. Moses, who was given the prototype of Mary. What does that mean, Moses was given the prototype of Mary? Moses never heard of Mary. But in the Ethiopian Christian view, when Moses gets the tablets of the law on Mount Sinai, what he's getting is a prophecy of Zion, the Ark of the Covenant, the body of Mary. Okay? Once again, the city. Okay? And now, again from the miracles of Mary, now see from the heart how he called the Redeemer of the whole world. He called her furthermore Zion. Mary is Zion. Okay? Zion is just so, I don't know, we're talking about symbols. What symbols do is they layer things one on top of another. This means this, which also means this, which also means this. Jerusalem is Zion. Zion is Mary. Mary is the covenant. So one of the things that we have in Ethiopia is you pick up a book and it's called the homily, the teachings about Zion. Turns out the whole book is about Mary. Why? Because Mary is Zion. So Mary is the city, the ark is Mary. Again, over and over repeated. The Cathedral of Mary of Zion, the holiest church in all of Ethiopia. This is where Ethiopians believe, in a second, well, I'll show you already. They rebuilt it recently, make it more modern. This is where the Ethiopians believe that the original Ark of the Covenant is kept.
All right, so we're going to pause right there. That is where they believe the original Ark of the Covenant is kept. Now, we talked about this in the past, right? Everybody know the history of Ethiopia and the Ark of the Covenant supposed to be there. The history that, they're descendants of, King Solomon. But think about this. See, this is where, you got the I'm gonna use it this way. People who have what I call camp minds, right? Camp minds can't reason. That's what I call it. And hold on. Okay. Camp minds can't reason well. That's what I call it. Why? Because you have to use common sense. You have to put pieces together that's supposed to fit together. And understand this. If you've been following my series on the true Jerusalem, there's too many things that point to this location to being the true Jerusalem. Too many. And there's an unbroken connection of Black Jews living in the Gondar province of Ethiopia, right? And then we got Eldad the Danite who said where his people were in the area they call Abyssinia, Ethiopia, whatever. It used to be called Aksum. Before that, Demont, right? These are the names they keep giving to it. But historically, traditionally, and all of these things, right, you will see that there is no other place that fits. No other place that fits. Now, when we talk about the Ark of the Covenant and what this guy was saying, right? Now, one thing, he tried to tie this stuff to Mary and stuff, right? Like someone said, there's obvious Catholic influence, right? Now he's Ashkenaz, but there's an obvious Catholic influence. Now, if you listen to what he said, he tried to say the Ark is Mary. See, there you go. They're trying to replace Yeshua. Now, theoretically, if you look at the symbols and you look at the types and the shadows, right? What was the 10 Commandments, right? It was the what? Word of God. What was the ark? Symbolic of what? The presence of God. Who is the word of God? Yeshua. What did they do? They took that ark, they took those 10 Commandments, which was the word of God, and put it what? In an ark, representative of flesh, creation. So the word what? Became flesh, symbolic of Yeshua, God himself coming in human flesh, symbolic of the Ark of the Covenant. I'm just saying, all of the ones who reject Yeshua, I just don't get y'all. Y'all demonically deceived. But my point being is, and we're going to come back to this video, the Ark of the Covenant isn't the only thing, right, that ties this area to the true location, right? It's traditions, it's culture, things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this video and play some more as we move on. But I wanted to share something with you. Now, this is about the modern area we call Jerusalem. In this modern area, you also had what you call Ethiopian monks there, right? So this is about St. Jerome. It says the Ethiopians are the most pious of all monks in Jerusalem. This talking about supposedly the Middle East one, right? One of the earliest European accounts about the presence of Ethiopian Christians in the Holy Land was the Latin Church Father St. Jerome, who lived in Bethlehem around 386 AD. So the guy in the video, he talks about this. He admits that Ethiopian just means black. So, we got to get out of our mind this current modern people we call Ethiopians. Ethiopians is what we would call today Africans. Now, according to some of the historical documents I saw, yes, some of the Ethiopians were in that area, which we call Arabia, an area we call Jerusalem or Israel today. Now, also remember Haile Selassie, who was the emperor of Ethiopia, when he was exiled, he left and went to what we call modern Jerusalem. There's been a connection between that area, which I believe was the area of the Philistines, and modern Jerusalem. Jerusalem, right? So either way it goes, you will see that there were Ethiopians there as well, depending upon your belief system. So now, one thing we talked about this in the past as well in some of the other videos, there's an area, right, that's called Bet Mahani Alim, House of the Savior of the World. Another called Bet Miriam, right, House of Miriam, Mary, right? There's Bet Golgotha. There's a place called Golgotha, right? Bet Meskel and Bet Denagel, right? Now, over here, you'll see the tombs of Adam. There's a tomb there called the Tomb of Adam. Now, this is supposed to be a fake or a second Jerusalem because they couldn't take the time to try to get over there to the Middle East because it was overrun by Muslims. I'm like, well, they do that all the time. People still went to Jerusalem during the time that the Ottoman Turks controlled it. So the lies don't add up. The lies don't add up. It doesn't make sense. And like I said, you got to take into connection all of the evidence, all of the information that I presented in the past. If you haven't seen other videos, I recommend you go see it. So there's an area called Bet Golgotha or House of Golgotha. We know that's supposed to be the place where Yeshua was sacrificed, right? So Bet Golgotha is a church of worship, right? Orthodox Ethiopian located in Lalibela in the region of Amhara in Ethiopia. It is one of the 11 cave churches in the city that were declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. So understand this. I've shown in other videos as well that, what we see in the scriptures of the funeral process, right, is to bury people in caves. Now, you don't really have that in the Middle East, but you do have it in Ethiopia. And I've shown you that. Now, some of you all haven't seen some of the videos because some of the videos are either on BitChute or on Odyssey. Now, I just uploaded a whole bunch of videos on Odyssey, but those are the same videos I have here on YouTube. I'm trying to relocate some of that. But understand they supposedly built this fake Jerusalem and called this place Bet Golgotha and all these things, right? They have a river that they call the River Jordan. Come on now. Really? Are we supposed to buy these lies? And based upon the description of Jerusalem, I've shown you that Ethiopia is surrounded by mountains. That's what the Bible describes of Jerusalem. Nothing fits in the Middle East. Nothing fits in the Middle East. You can't convince me the Middle East is the true location, let alone the Middle East is a very narrow location. I think it can only hold like probably the Middle East and Israel, let's say. I think the most it can handle is God himself said that Israel would be as large as the sand of the sea. Let's look at some other things, and I'm gonna go back to the guy's video in a bit. Okay, so here we have, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, Ethiopian northern highlands of the country must be one of Africa's finest sites, right? So, as I mentioned, there's a lot of caves here, right? Now, we see in the scriptures when Lazarus died, they put Lazarus where? In a cave. I've shown you the dead bodies in Ethiopia in caves, right? Now, think about the modern Eurocentric representation of Judaism and the modern Eurocentric view of a white Jesus in the Middle East, which, I've shown you the video that says it was North Africa anyway, North Africa and Jerusalem. But picture that, the pictures of modern Eurocentric Christianity. And what do you see, right? You see people dressed like this, right? Now, remember when Yeshua taught, he taught the people and they came around and sat around him and listened, right? Look at this, surrounded by mountains, all of this stuff. You can't tie this to the Middle East. Look at that land. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to show you a picture. Now, you can imagine this in the biblical context of all of the Israelites, right, in Jerusalem. But there's something I want to show you. because like I said, and I mentioned it before about the traditions, the cultures, the way that they do things, right, is biblically oriented, right? Everything in this describes or uh, gives you the view of what Jerusalem should be like, what you would imagine after, when you're reading the Bible, not the Middle East. The Middle East don't fit any of the descriptions, right? You can imagine. Look at this. Now, does this look like what you see in the scriptures when the apostles was around Yeshua, right? Now, in the Christian, quote unquote, look, y'all got to stop it with the Hamite land. That y'all got to stop it. Y'all got to use some logical reasoning deduction abilities, please. I'm like, it got to stop. I mean, that's like when y'all say there was no J. I'm like, y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop. It's more complex than that. I mean, come on now. All right. So anyway, you can imagine how Yeshua was sitting there and the apostles were around him, right? Now, everything we see in Eurocentric representations of Christ, right, the white Christ, they're dressed like these people. Now, these people have always dressed like this, and they continue to dress like this. Now, look at this. This is what I really wanted to show you. See this guy here, right? Can you imagine Yeshua standing there with the people around listening? With the people around listening. Now, we go to Matthew 14, 13 and 21. When Yeshua heard what happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. When Yeshua landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." Yeshua replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." "We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes," they answered. "Bring them here to me," he said. And he directed the people what? To sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking upon to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, women, and children. So we can see Yeshua representing this guy right here who's teaching or preaching, and the people gathered around listening. Now, there's more to this, like I said, I guarantee you most of y'all ain't see, most of my videos on this, right? The ones who support this ministry, I'm sure they saw it, but the ones who making comments in there, like, the land of Ham, right? You haven't seen the evidence, I'm sure, right? But when you put together the majority of the evidence, right, this is the Holy Land. Okay. Now, some people don't want the Holy Land to be in Africa because they want America to be the Holy Land. Y'all know that, right? Some of our people just got issues. Some of our people have issues. I'm serious. I mean, they think the Holy Land is in the United States, the land of our captivity. I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm trying to be nice. It's hard. It's hard sometimes. Because the lack of brain cells and functions to critically think. That's why I say you have to use critical thinking skills. You have to use critical thinking skills. You can't just say that's Ham's territory. That don't make no sense. Do you know your Bible? Do you know your Bible? But anyway, let me, see, I guess I get this way because I get these type of questions and statements and stuff all the time. Now, I'll put it to you those who don't agree. And you think the Middle East is that land, or you think America is that land. You put together your proof text. You put together your historical evidence. You put together your cultural evidence. You put together the connection of Hebrews and Israelites in those territories. You bring all of that together and you show me why either the Middle East is the true location or why America is the true location. Because I guarantee you, you can't. I will go on this, I will bring you on this show and you can present your evidence and I will present my evidence. And I guarantee you, I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Ethiopia is the true land of Zion. I'm throwing the gauntlet out. Y'all who believe the Middle East is the true land, bring it. Bring it. I want you to use the Bible to prove that it is. Use the Bible to prove that the Middle East or America is the Holy Land. I want you to use history to prove that, along with it, not by itself. I want you to use history as well to prove that America or the Middle East is the Holy Land, along with the Bible now, along with the connection of the people who live in that land, right? And the cultural traditions. I want you to bring all of that because I got it all. I want you to do that. And if you can prove that, I'll retract my position. I'll retract my position. If you can prove that, if you could bring all that evidence together, I will do that. So we have these cultural traditions. We also have the clothing, right? That we see like when you go to the Catholic Church, right? What do you see when you go to the Catholic Church? Now remember, take a look at the guy right here, right? Look how he dressed. Also, family, make sure you take note how the Bantu people dress, how the Yoruba people dress. And I'm just asking, where do you think they get these images from? Where do you think they get the images from? Why is his head covered? Why does he have white on? Why is he wrapped like the people we just saw? Why do they have their heads wrapped like the people we just saw in Ethiopia? I'm just saying, where do you think they got this from? Where do you think Catholicism got? They just put a white face on there, but try to keep the traditions and the cultures, try to keep the dress, right? But let's go back and look one more time. So you know, like with everything else, they then stole everything. They stole everything, and they stole your identity. I told you, fake land, fake people, a fake God. I told you, everything fake. A fake land, fake people, and a fake God. I told you, everything fake. And when I say fake, I mean even a total opposite. The Jews, the Israelites were black, now they're white. Jerusalem was surrounded by mountains, now it's not. I'm just saying. But anyway, we saw what the white Jesus looked like. Look, but this is how these people dress. This is how they've always dressed. And when they teach, they sit around in a circle around the teacher, just like we see in the Bible. And I've shown you other stuff that proves culturally that this is the land. And understand, who was in the land of Canaan? Who was in the land of Canaan? Hittites, Perizzites, all the ites. You don't have all them people living over there in the Middle East. Neither could they. How many people did Israel have to fight going into the Holy Land? I'm just asking. You think they were going to fight all them people in that little small land over there to go get a little small stretch of land in the Middle East? I don't think so. You think that the Ethiopians are going to take all that time and effort to build rock-hewn churches in the ground because this is fake Jerusalem? You think they're going to name the river Jordan because it's a fake river Jordan? What happened during the time of the Inquisition? They said if you say you're a Jew, you're going to be persecuted or killed. They say you can no longer what? Call anyone a Jew. It was against the law. What else did the Roman Catholic Church do? They said what? You can't celebrate the Shabbat. What else did the Roman Catholic Church do? They said you can't do anything. You can't celebrate the feast days. What else did the Roman Catholic Church do? They say you better go eat some of that pork because otherwise we're going to think you a Jew. That's what they said. So you think that these people over the years going to tell the truth so everybody could come there? And so the Roman Catholic Church could continue to persecute them in their own land? Why do you think Italy went to Ethiopia? Why didn't Italy go over there to Namibia? Why did Italy go and attack Ethiopia? Why did Italy attack Ethiopia? Because that's the Holy Land. That's where the Romans go. That's what they did. So let's listen to this guy a little more, and then we'll just shut it down. I just wanted to show y'all, because here's the thing. This is all based upon cumulative evidence. So if you disagree with me, that's fine. But if you disagree with me, watch my other videos first and then prove me wrong. Bring your cultural and historical evidence that the Middle East is the true location of Jerusalem and connected to the biblical description as well, and prove that it is the true Jerusalem or America. Prove it. Don't tell me nothing. Don't tell me your opinion. Don't tell me I think. Don't tell me how I feel. Prove it. I've given proof. This isn't the only video. I have like 10 videos now on Ethiopia, at least. But let's listen to the Gentile a little more, and then we'll shut it down. I'm convinced. That's all I'm saying. I'm convinced, and I'm just sharing what I see. All right.
Now, it's very convenient because there's only one priest who's allowed to see it, and he's not allowed to take it out and show it to anybody. And so you can't exactly argue very much about this. But if you act as I have, if you ask an Ethiopian priest, do you really believe that the Ark of the Covenant is in Aksum? That Aksum has taken the place of Jerusalem? He says, well, the Ark of the Covenant isn't in Jerusalem anymore, so it must be Aksum. This church holds the Ark of the Covenant. Once again. Oh, by the way, only men are allowed into it. Women are not allowed into it. This probably has to do with this symbolism of Mary, and Mary is the only woman in this church. Celebrations take place here, celebrating the arrival. But again, when people have done the investigations, no one has been allowed into this city. Okay, so 1 second. Solomon and Sheba meet. They have a child. The child travels to Jerusalem. He takes with him the Ark of the Covenant. He brings it back to Aksum. He makes Aksum the new Jerusalem. The Ethiopian Christian people are the true Israelites. The Ark of the Covenant resides in Aksum. Aksum is Zion, the new Jerusalem. I don't know if this is the first chapter or the second chapter, but it's the end of a chapter. Because what happens, as I hinted a few minutes ago, Islam develops. The Ethiopians lose their access to the Red Sea, which becomes controlled by Muslim traders. Aksum, which no longer has its political and economic importance, goes into decline. And a new dynasty, a new group of powerful people develop in Ethiopia. And they want a new capital, one that they control. And they build a new city. City is called Lalibela. Once again, we could have, in a different context, an entire lecture, if not a course, about Lalibela. I will simply point out that the church that you're looking at here, okay, Bet Manhana Alam, the Savior of the world, that this church is cut out of a single piece of rock. It's not built, it's excavated. Think about how much work that is. Okay? Think about how much work that is. And all of that is done so that the people who now rule Ethiopia, who don't control Aksum, can now say, we have our Jerusalem, we have our sacred city. Aksum was Jerusalem. Now Lalibela is Jerusalem. Okay? Beit Georgios, you'll see another, again, better picture. Again, a single piece of rock. Think about the hours and hours and hours, days, years spent excavating that. To say, this is Jerusalem. This is the holy city. This is the center of the world. Aksum? Why would you go to Aksum? There's a much better Jerusalem. The map is not important. I mean, you see all of these different churches. Simply point out that one of the sites, and you probably can't read this because it's down there at the bottom, is number 9, the tomb of Adam. The tomb of Adam. Where do you know? Does anyone know where is Adam traditionally buried? He's buried in Jerusalem. The American traveler, 19th century traveler, the American traveler and writer, Mark Twain, has a wonderful travel log that he wrote about coming to Palestine at the time. And when he goes to the place where he's told, and his guide tells him, this is the tomb of Adam, he writes, it was very moving to know that one of my relatives had been to Palestine before me. It's one way to look at it. But if the tomb of Adam is in Lalibela, then Lalibela must be Jerusalem. And also, Beit Golgotha. What is Golgotha? The place where Jesus was crucified. So that's also in Lalibela. And I could, go through. Beit Maskal means the house of the cross.
All right, so fam, if as he says, the Golgotha's there and all these things, right? All of these attributes we see in the scripture, you expect to see in what I call the Middle East fake Jerusalem. Why would this even be interesting at all, right? If it was fake, why is it interesting? Anything that he's saying right now, why does it matter, right? Now, he goes on later to say that, they created this second Jerusalem, like I said, because of the invasion of the Muslims in the Middle East. But if this is a fake place, right? And like I said, all of the historical connections to this land and descriptions biblically that fits, I believe this guy knows this is the true Jerusalem. I think many people know this is the true Jerusalem. And I'm going to bring Minister Teyu on right quick because he wanted to share something with you all. Minister Teyu, welcome.
Salama. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Sound good.
Yeah, I was having some computer issues, but I'm good now. So I just wanted to add a couple of things to take note for those of us who have taken our DNA, right? Put it in JED match, and you see what? You see Ethiopian Jew in your DNA, right? So, some of y'all may not have it. I don't know. Maybe that's why y'all fighting so hard with this, but we're following the evidence, both genetically, historically, right? So that's what we're doing. Now, as far as South Africa, tell you the truth, I love South Africa. I think it's the most gorgeous, beautiful place, but the evidence is not leading us there. But hey, that would be my next choice, even though it would totally destroy the idea of Egypt. So that's a huge problem for us, right? Is that South Africa does not answer the question of the distance between Egypt and Israel, right? Not saying that sub-Saharan Africa is not Israelite land, because we believe it is. But Jerusalem, according to history, according to, even if you guys, for those of you who watched that video, the brother that was in the Gosh people, I think it was Yakoba, right? Is that how you pronounce it?
Who's that?
The island on West Africa, the video.
Oh,
the brother,
yeah. I forgot their names, but yeah, I know what you're
yeah,
talking about.
the Ghost or Gosh, something like that, right? The island off of West Africa coast, North Africa, and he said that the ancient Jerusalem was in Ethiopia. So I just wanted to come on and share my true ancestry as well, because what it does is it compares you to the ancient bones and discoveries, right? And let me just pull it up. Okay, so here's the thing.
1 second, Mr. Tate. So Ethiopia, 19th century. I'm like, come on now, please. I mean, we're talking about Aksum, Abyssinia, a culture before it was named Ethiopia in the 1920s. Y'all got to do better than that. I'm telling you, come on. But anyway,
let's. You're right. Let's answer that. I mean, y'all have to understand, Ethiopia is a new term for that territory. It was Aksum, okay, and Ethiopia just meant black. Y'all have to get into the history. It meant black. They called the whole continent of Africa Ethiopia at one time. When they were talking about Ethiopia, they were talking about the whole continent of Africa. You know, y'all are stuck in this Roman Catholic Church terminology, which is deceiving everyone. Okay, and Ethiopia has hundreds of tribes in Ethiopia. So, you know, just because you see, you know, with the Tigray, that doesn't mean everyone in Ethiopia is a Tigrayan, right? If you look at the images of the Ethiopian Israelites that were there, they are Negro. They look like us. But Minister Yakoba, yeah, can you share my screen?
Okay, yeah. You want me to enlarge it or?
Yeah. Try to zoom up on it if you could.
Okay, you're gonna have to roll it and zoom it a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. So anyway, many of you guys are familiar with my true ancestry, right? You can look at the periods in history and identify at what period in time these bones were discovered, right? What, you know, Bronze Age, Iron Age, things like that. So my true ancestry, what you will see is that, and this ties to testimony of those who call themselves Israelites in West Africa, right? The Igbo, a lot of the other tribes, they all have a story of coming actually from East Africa and settling in West Africa. They all have that story. So their origin is in East Africa. And so if you look at our DNA results right here, you can see now this is all periods, but we can go through and look at the Bronze Neolithic period, right? We could go to the Bronze Age, which is like early Israelite period. And we have Ethiopia, we have Kenya, Tanzania, right? We go to late Bronze Age, more in the Kenya area. But remember, see this area here that we are calling Sudan and Ethiopia right here. Those are colonized designations, right? These were carved out by the Balfour Declaration people, the colonizers. So, you know, y'all are arguing about Ethiopians or this and that. We didn't move like that in Africa. They designated us as individuals and gave us these terms. They set the boundaries. But what I'm showing you is that based on the DNA, Iron Age, where our DNA is in East Africa, right? Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, right? So this gives you an idea. Let's just take for granted. Let's take for granted that we are Israel, right? And if we are Israel, we have these the Bronze Age, Iron Age, Late Bronze Age, and it's showing us clustered with these ancient discoveries in East Africa. If you notice, there's nothing in West Africa at all, nothing, which proves that we migrated there in the late periods, right? Because of our enemies, the Muslims that chased us to West Africa, running from Rome, running from some of these Esau tribes that exist, right? Because Esau is not all white, right? You got some black Esau tribes, right? So if you look though, West Africa, if you guys are thinking, we originated in West Africa or the Jerusalem is somewhere in West Africa or even South Africa, the archaeological evidence don't give you too much evidence, right? There's a cluster here. I'm not the only one. We're not the only one that has that cluster, right? Most of the DNA that we've seen from the Israelite community is similar to this, right? The cluster is in East Africa and almost nothing in West and South Africa. So that's the origin. So you want to look at where we came from. The Bible said what? We fought the Canaanites, right? We were trying to take the land. A lot of us died. We had many wars. We had wars with Rome. So you're going to find what? A whole lot of bodies. There's the cluster for you. So if our origin was somewhere else, we should see a large gathering of DNA ties. Now, if you haven't loaded your DNA to mytrueancestry.com, go ahead and do it. You're going to see just like this, Red Letter Rap. He shared it on one of our shows. Same kind of thing. The cluster gathers in East Africa. So if you haven't loaded it in My True Ancestry. This is your DNA has secrets. It reveals truth. You all are caught up in this narrative that Rome built to hide the true Holy Land. But as Minister Yacoba said, who's going to put all that effort in there? Look, there's videos, and I think we share some of it, where some Ethiopians took months to travel to Lalibela area for the celebration. You don't do that for a fake Jerusalem, right? There's more going on here with that, right? They're going along with the lie, but they didn't give up their traditions. You see, they didn't give up their traditions because it's holy to them. They didn't mind screwing us over, but it's holy to them. So, they don't mind calling it Jerusalem number 2. The rest of the world is going to fake Jerusalem in the Middle East, while their people having migrations, aliyah to the true Jerusalem. And I mean, many of them take weeks to get there.
Minister Tayu, can you answer what's on the screen?
So Esau is white and black, but Israel is all black. Yeah. Watch our video on Esau and you'll understand how Esau can be white today, right? Esau being a brother of Jacob, obviously he was of some type of Negro DNA. But if you follow his history, you follow the stories of the historians, you'll find out why what's his name? The Roman, the one that took over Rome. You mentioned him earlier, Yacoba.
That took over Rome. Zepho.
Zepho, right. So Zepho is the son of Esau, right? You also have the Turkish people, and they're Teman, son of Teman. Teman is a son of Esau, and they call themselves Temanite Jews, Teman Jews. All right, so they clearly are descendants of Esau as well. So,
and I got one more question for you to answer, Minister Tayu. Jacob, we got. Oh wait, let's see, that's not the one. Hold on, where is it? I think somebody removed it.
Well, okay, you could tell me what it said, right? You got an idea?
Yeah, he was saying that because we show up over there in the East, we Hamites or some bullshit. Anyway.
Look, that is non-scientific It lacks scholarship. You're just making an angry statement, but you're not bringing receipts. I mean, if you even look at the history of the tribes in Africa, most of them were nomadic. Let's wake up from that nonsense, my friend. Do some homework, okay?
Look at this.
I
Look at
mean-
this. Look at this. Ethiopians drank blood. What is an Ethiopian?
Oh,
Come on, you
what-
got to stop it. Y'all getting on my nerves. I'm like, use some logic.
This person
please.
right here said that the true Jerusalem is in South Africa, right? So that's their problem, right? Because they're following all that stuff, but the evidence doesn't lead there. Okay, but this whole drinking blood thing, what is an Ethiopian? There's dozens of tribes that aren't
There's like
related.
80 tribes around that area, dude.
Yeah,
Come on.
80 tribes in Ethiopia. They're not all Ethiopians like you're trying to say, right? Like a Mexican. They're not like that.
This is why I say you gotta use not only deductive reasoning, but you gotta use common sense and logic. I'm like, come on. I mean, really. I mean, some of y'all, I'm telling you, y'all gotta up your game. I'm serious. This is more important than your opinion from a lack of research. I mean, it's old. I'm telling you,
it's prejudice old. Is all it is.
It is. It's old.
It's prejudice, right? It's tribal. It's tribal hate, ancient tribal hatred, things like that. But what they call an Ethiopian is a Tigrian, right? But what we're calling Ethiopians, like the Ethiopian Jews, are Negroes, right? So.
That's why I told them go watch my other videos, because you obviously
they didn't watch the video. Obviously, right? So I mean, you gotta bring receipts. Just putting that nonsense out there, not making you look good at all. Okay, I invite you to come on. Look, if you got a microphone, come on. We'll give you the link. Just let me know if Cameron, if you want to come on here and bring some receipts.
Yeah, we'll give you the link.
We'll give you the link.
I'll be quiet and let Minister Tayu handle it, because I probably wouldn't handle you too well.
Well, look, not being confrontational, we put in the work, and I want you to bring the receipts. You know, Bantu daughter, you could come in here too. One of y'all could come in here. Tell me if you want to come in here and we'll drop the link. Just give me a yes.
The link already out there is pinned.
Okay, there you go. It's pinned.
See, people have got opinions without research. See, that's the problem, right? Everybody
watch other people. They watch other people. They look at these modern maps, and they see a name in South Africa called Bethlehem, and then, oh, there we go. There's Jerusalem. Nah, it don't work that way. All right, it's not that easy. You got to put in the work. You got to look at the history. You got to look at the traditions of the people, right? One thing for sure, Tel-Arad is not Jerusalem. Modern Jerusalem is not Jerusalem. So where is it? I'm open to it being South Africa. I love South Africa. I do. I just don't think anyone has enough evidence to make it, to bring that evidence. So the evidence points to Ethiopia. That's the facts. And as Minister Yakoba said, if you watch the videos that we've done, look, you know who drinks blood with milk? The Maasai.
He's so
now you up here blaming the Ethiopians, but that's the Maasai. The Maasai are not Ethiopians.
The ignorance.
So
I'm like, dude, you got to come up early to try to beat us, dude. You ain't even do homework 101. I'm like, come on, please. And that's why, for me, fam, and excuse me if I seem irritated, I get this stuff all the time from a lack of research and a lack of logic, and it really wears me down. I know I got to get a little tougher skin, but it really wears me down. The lack of research and intelligence, it gets old. It really does. And if you got your opinion, you could come up here right now and present your case. Present your evidence right now.
The link is out there. Bring it. We want to know. Teach me something. If you got the receipts, I'll publicly give you the go and say I'm wrong. We're not trying to be right. We just want the evidence. If I could make South Africa the Holy Land of Jerusalem, I'd do it. Why? Because I like it. I think it's a beautiful land. I do know it belongs to Israel, but I don't.
All of sub-Saharan Africa is part of Israel.
Yeah.
We call Israel. All right. So anything else, Minister Tayu?
No, that's it. just wanted to share this. You have to understand that My True Ancestry deals with ancient archaeological discoveries, right? And it ties back to our autosomal DNA. And so, we've done this for years now, and we're not the only ones. A lot of people have shared their DNA and put it through GEDmatch, and we all come up with the same results. So that proves we are of the same family, because we have very, very similar results, and the limba comes up for most of us, right? So, you just got to put in the work. The DNA has answers as well. History has answers as well. Minister Yacob.
All right, thank you, Minister Tayu. So here's the thing, fam. Like I said, we do things a little different here over at Tail Ministries. We use deductive reasoning, logical reasoning, and we look at the history, we look at the culture, we look at what the scripture says. We don't just make a determination or decision about something off of one piece of evidence, right? It's a bunch of evidence brought together, right, along with the scriptures. See, that's what people don't do,
Minister
right?
Yacob.
Yeah.
Bantu Hebrew Israelite says modern Jerusalem is the true Jerusalem. Come on. We got the link for you.
Yeah, come prove it. Bring your evidence that is the land.
We'll give
right
you the
now.
floor right now.
Use the Bible too. Use the Bible
One
as
thing
well.
I will emphatically state: it's impossible that current land is modern Jerusalem. Impossible.
Yep.
I want you to bring them receipts.
Yeah.
You got the link. Come on, we wait for you.
Yep. Come on. We don't open up the doors too often now. You might want to take advantage of it.
Right. You got the floor. We won't say anything unless you ask us a question until you finish, and then
I'm a comment.
Well, I'm saying we'll rebut when you're done.
Yeah. Come on, you got 1 minute. You don't get this often too much. I mean, you got an opinion, come bring it, share it.
Well, they say they can prove it. I'm like, come
there
on.
We go. Second Exodus. Exodus.
What's going on, brothers?
What's up?
How you been?
I've been pretty good. I had a pretty successful second semester in seminary school.
Oh, that's good. Congrats.
Yeah, and now I'm just back in Tennessee, helping out my dad.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Now I do know second Exodus is against the Ethiopian thing too. So yeah, come on, let's talk about it.
Hold on, let me bring on one more person. But go ahead, second.
Okay, so here's the thing. I was pretty open-minded, right? Remember, even in Hebrew Spirit, I would say that hey, Jerusalem could be in South Africa or it could be in West Africa. But of course, going through seminary school, I'm kind of seeing that even with Genesis 15, it says from the great river in Egypt to the river Euphrates is the territory of Israel. And so I'm kind of running into some issues with not necessarily Jerusalem not being in that location in the Middle East, but perhaps maybe it's underneath, a lot of layers of dirt and things like that. So, how do we explain the boundaries from the great river of Egypt to the river Euphrates? And how do we explain the Qumran? How do we explain the Qumran caves with all the Dead Sea Scrolls and with the Hebrew, but we don't find any of the Hebrew texts down in Abyssinia or South Africa or West Africa?
Okay, well, to answer your first question, and yeah, apparently you haven't seen some of my videos, and I cover a lot of this stuff, is that the Euphrates River, they have a Euphrates River in the Middle East, right? What we call the Middle East, right? In my opinion, that's not the true Euphrates, because according to what's his name? What's the scholar? I can't remember.
Recluse.
Anyway, Recluse. Recluse state that the Euphrates River is the Alala River in Africa, right? And if you look at where he was talking about the location of the Alala River, is not the one that's in Ethiopia. It's the Alala River that was over there in West Africa, which would be the Niger River. So if you go from with the boundaries, it would be from the Niger River all the way to the Nile. the Yam Suf, right? So that's why, people trying to stay with the current and modern maps, right? Whereas according to other scholars, he said that the Lala River was called Afra and it was also called the Euphrates by scholars. That's what he says, Recluse. He says that, right? So if he's correct, then the Niger River is truly the Euphrates, which will give us the territory all the way from almost to the end where Mauritania is, all the way to East Africa. That's why we say from that whole land would sub-Saharan Africa would be modern Israel, what we call Israel.
Yeah, and in regards to the Qumran scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, I mean, there's two issues I have there, right? One, I don't believe anything that the Europeans tell me, right? They could have discovered it somewhere else, right? We can't really trust their narrative. At least we got to be skeptical of it. Two, I mean, if you're trying to hide the scrolls, right, because you're trying to protect them, and Jerusalem is modern Jerusalem, right? Why would you have those scrolls anywhere near that area, right? Because your enemy is pursuing you. So I'm thinking that let's assume that the Qumran the caves were actually that the scrolls were actually discovered there, right? Then that doesn't mean that they did not relocate there to hide the scrolls, right? Those are the kind of things we don't have answers to.
But think about this, right? Remember all of the historical documents we have when the Europeans went into Africa, right? And the Jews, the Black Jews, had the scrolls, right? They had the parchment, and it was written, burnt into like lambskin, right? Where they had the Torah and stuff written in lambskin. And other Black Jews, according to these people who went into Africa, had all of these documents. Now, where are they today? Right? See, my position is that they didn't find nothing in Qumran. They found all of this stuff in Africa. Same thing. I don't know, Second Exodus, if you saw the video. Did you ever see the video of the Ashkenaz that went into West Africa to talk to the tribe of Dan? Right?
Yeah, I saw that.
So they continuously go to Africa, and they go to learn from us. They get the documents from us. They take them from us when they invade. Just like Britain took all of this stuff. They take everything from us. So like, let's say you stole something, right? What you gonna say? I stole the documents from these Black Jews who they don't want the world to know they Black Jews, right? So they're gonna say, I stole this. No, they got to come up with a place they found it. We found it over hidden in the Qumran. Because people gonna say, well, that ain't your scroll. Yes, it is. We found it in the Qumran cave. See, a little boy threw a rocket, hits this thing, and it broke, and we found this. No, they probably went into Africa. Because remember, I'm sure you read a lot, Second Exodus. You remember all them documents where all of these Black Jews in Africa had the scrolls, right? And then all of a sudden they ain't got it no more.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's my position, is that they didn't find nothing in the Qumran caves. So let me go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's possible that they could have, we know that the Mohammedans raided the university Timbuktu. So it's possible that a lot of these scrolls could have been relocated.
That too.
Exactly. Very good point.
Exactly. And remember too, now all of those books are coming out. How come nobody's transcribing and translating those scrolls from Timbuktu now that they feel safe to release those books, right? Because I mean, America and the Europeans love information and history, but they're not going over there to translate those books. I wonder why. So let me add one of Coach Robot. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. It's good to hear. It's good to be on the live. I actually decided to hop on. I actually had a question, and that live chat is just extremely hot. There's no way and I'm on my phone. There's just no way I'll be able to get my question. So there's a question that's I guess is bothering me, I suppose. I'm at a loss of words. So Jerusalem is in Ethiopia, and the question that's begging me over here concerns the Romans, the Greeks, and Ezra. Ezra led us out to build the second temple. The Greeks and the Romans, according to what we've been taught, they occupied the territory. And I'm trying to figure out, and maybe you brothers and those in the chat, I can't read the chat at all because I'm outside, I'm on my phone. But maybe you can help shed some light over here to help me to better understand. Maybe the Greeks and the Romans completely stole everything, and everything they've been teaching us is a lie.
Well,
I don't know where everything's.
I'm a bit confused. In reference to what particular thing you're saying?
Well, when Yahushua was on the scene, the Romans, as we've been taught, had occupied the land of Israel.
Correct.
On the same token, the Ethiopians, they brag and boast that their land has never been occupied.
Well, as quote unquote Ethiopians, right? But if you look at, I have to pull up a video. It's one of my older videos. They found some coins and stuff like that of Roman coins. Now, that don't mean the Romans were there, but they found some things from the Romans in Ethiopia as well. All right. I put that in one of my other videos, right? Because, you know, somebody else brought up that whole thing as well about the Romans being there or not, right? So, you know, if we look at the history of Ethiopia, right, or Aksum, right? I mean, according to them, they haven't been invaded, but think of this, right? Now, are you familiar, like I mentioned before, Coach, about how during the Inquisition, you couldn't mention that you're a Jew or use the word Jew. You couldn't do anything on the Sabbath. You couldn't do anything on the feast days. You couldn't do anything traditionally what we call of a Israelite, right? You know that, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then Rome, nobody's going to speak about it, right? Because everybody has to be quiet. And this is why people saying, well, Rome has never been here, but you find these, I forgot where it was. It was over there by, I think, what was the name of the town? I think it's slipping my mind, but it's a town in Ethiopia. I think it's called Ya or something. You remember Second Exodus? There's this town called Ya or something like that. I think it's Ya.
Yeah, I think it's in the north part of it.
Yeah. And they found some Roman coins and some other things there, right? It's in one of my videos. If I find it, I'll send it to you.
And it's Yakoba, check your private chat.
Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, let me show this then. Good. Minister Tayu just shared something.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it says 2,000-year-old Roman artifacts unearthed in Ethiopia. Right. The Roman artifacts in the graves indicate that the Aksumite kingdom had been trading with Rome. So they're saying trade with Rome hundreds of years earlier than had previously been taught. In return, the Romans obtained ivory, tusk, frankincense, metals from Ethiopia. So we have a Roman presence in Ethiopia, according to this article, archaeology, right? So that's the thing. When you look, a lot of the evidence is there. Like, for instance, you know, I showed how, you know, the scriptures talk about like Lazarus and how when Lazarus died, they put him in a cave, right? They buried him in a cave. Same thing with Yeshua. They put him in a cave and put a stone in front of it. In Ethiopia, they do the same thing. They have a history of that. And they have, you can go and see a bunch of people with, you know, dead bodies in caves, right? So we see the same thing there.
Tombs,
now,
right?
Larry Walker, if you're trying to get in, your device isn't showing up. So you need to fix that in order for me to let you in. Otherwise, I can't let you in. All right. So also, Don P. Hi, brother. Welcome back. How's it going?
It is going well in the times that we're living in.
I feel you.
It's rocky road like a mug. And you know what I'm praying for you, brother, is that the Most High gives you the provision that matches your desire. Because I know your desire. Because he gave me that desire. And I'm trying to work out my plans to make that work. For me, I like what you're saying, man, and just like knowing about how these folks hide history, but then how the relevance of true history just keeps sticking its head up on you. I was just in a teaching today, and I was kind of listening so much, I forgot the connection between what you were saying about Ethiopia and what this brother was saying, who was also a very learned brother. And it just makes me think, and then just all the stuff that I've learned over the years and months listening to you brothers, it just makes me think that, yeah, you could be right on point about where things are actually located. So I don't know, man. I'm just like, Most High just gonna have to keep revealing. But what I can do is I can be actionable up on the light that he's already given me, so that it give me more light. Because for me right now, my plan, man, I'm finna go to Gambia.
Oh, Gambia.
Yeah, and plan B is Ethiopia, Ghana. Plan B is Ghana.
Oh, okay. Okay. What made you pick
Just
Gambia?
because I got people.
Oh, people there.
You gotta have, you gotta have your resources. So I got people that have people that I connect with that can make things happen for me in those areas, and bunk the stuff that you hear on the news, like in terms of Ghana and requirements and stuff. Man, bunk that. You got the right connections, you can get what you need to do without having to compromise.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm really just like looking forward, man. My time frame is, I'm looking at 6 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because right now, me and my brothers, see, our background is like business, technology, marketing, and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, one of my nephews that I was on with earlier today, we mapping out the analytics and looking at the analytics and then basing it on historical background when they're gonna shut this thing down again and you can't move.
Yeah.
What's the threshold? And the thing about it is, you want to be able to move before they get to that threshold, because it may not open up again.
I
Just
agree
don't
with you.
know.
I mean, to be honest, I'm a bit concerned personally, but I'm just trusting the Most High, right? Let me meet you right quick, Rojo to you, Ray. Yeah, I'm just waiting on the Most High. Based upon what I see and hearing that may be coming, I'm concerned. I mean, I'd like to be out, but I mean, the rumor is just the rumor. I'm just sharing the rumor, family. I don't know nothing. The rumor is that the Pan 2, if you know what I'm saying, Pan 2 is going to happen July 15th. That's what they're
Oh
saying.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I don't know if it's true or not, but that's the rumor.
Because I was looking at a 6-month time horizon.
Yeah, I don't know if we got that long. But we'll
Well,
see.
I'm on it tomorrow, man. There's steps you have to take in order to secure yourself. And so I need to jump on step 1, which is getting a international tax ID,
Oh, okay.
so that I can then establish a bank account and then transfer USDs into their currencies.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. All
And
right.
then then I don't have to worry about the dollar collapse, which is coming.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
coming. It's coming. I mean, be honest with you. I mean, if I could get my family to go along, then I'd be out of here too. Look, family. I ain't telling y'all to do nothing. I'm just saying.
He's just saying. He's just saying. He's looking at what he sees, and he's just
Yeah.
saying.
Look,
That's all he
if
can
it
do.
was just me, I'd be gone, right?
Yeah.
I can work anywhere in my field, right? So, the problem is my family. My heart, I can't abandon my family, right? I can't
No.
abandon my family. So I got to stick it out with them until the Most High does something.
Everybody said 95.
When you say
Pandemic,
family,
Tetra.
when you say family, what
My
do you?
wife, my
Your wife.
kids,
Okay, see, you
my
got
mom.
you got a whole different situation. You got a whole different situation. I'm not
My wife,
married.
she's
I
not
don't have
coming,
any
right?
kids. Oh yeah, no, your wife gonna stay here and bear it out
Oh,
by herself. Yeah,
man,
right.
look,
Hey, baby, I
I
left you a
tell you,
box of shells. I left you a box of
sometimes I,
shells and a 12 gauge.
sometimes I tell her, don't look back at Sodom. You're going to turn into a pillar of salt.
Okay,
Yeah.
come on now,
Oh,
come
don't
on
let, oh,
now.
good thing she don't listen.
Yeah. But let's
Mm.
get Rojo. Rojo, welcome. What's your input on this? Let me unmute you. All right.
Oh,
Rojo.
oh, yeah, hello, Shalom, Minister Teo and Minister Yakoba. Hey, I
What's
just
up?
want to bring up a couple of points. Okay, it's one is about Africa, and the other thing is about Ethiopia. And now this lie that they like to say that Ethiopia was never occupied, people got to remember that there were two Romes, and the old guard of the Rome was split into two empires. When they were pushed eastward into the Byzantine Empire, they did in fact occupy Ethiopia as well as everything on across North Africa. They kind of held down that whole Mediterranean region. You can look up the rule of Caligula, which is nothing to brag about. So, and that probably explains why the today's Ethiopians that are over there, which are not connected to Jerusalem or what Ethiopia of antiquity, those are kind of well, I really won't get into that because I don't want to get scorched. But I could probably send you an email on that, send you some links. But
Yeah,
as
that'd be
far as
good.
Africa, the whole etymology of the name, what people don't know is that when the Greeks came into rule, Africa was known as a free, which, if you break down the Greek language, the word a can function as an independent word. In the English language, it's a suffix, but the word a in Greek means lacking or without. And then the word free, which, if you translate today, freeze, or in English, in Spanish, frio, it means the land that never gets extremely cold. So that's what the Greeks named Africa when they had conquered into it, going into what Mizraim would be at the time become to be known as Kemet, when the Egyptians brought their deities and all that perversion there. Not that Mizraim didn't have perversions there to begin with, but that all started there. That's all I want to say, bro. Thank you.
Thanks for the input. And yeah, I mean, we see that Rome was in Ethiopia, what we call Ethiopia. And remember that Ethiopia wasn't called Ethiopia to the 1920s, right? So it was called Abyssinia, then before that Aksum, and before that Demont, according to the scholars, right? They don't want to tell you that it was called Jerusalem.
Yeah, I mean, y'all really have to go watch the videos that Yakoba did because there's one video where he shows that the Ethiopian Israelites, they have the temple artifacts on Tana, on the island of Tana, right? So the ancient, I mean, this is according to the historians and the archaeologists that were there, that they have some old artifacts that were for ritual sacrifice, things like that. You remember that, Yakoba? I mean, it was a good.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason why I couldn't show it on YouTube because of copyright foolishness, right? I'm like, this is for educational purposes, fair use, but then they're gonna ding you anyway. So I had to put it on ODC. It's on ODC or BitChute, one of them. But yeah.
Yeah, you got to check that out. I mean, that's some additional evidence. Why do they have all these temple artifacts with them?
Which proves they may actually have the Ark of the Covenant because they have the other temple artifacts.
Right.
So, and they don't talk about that too much. And this was a video you don't really find that often. If I go back and find the video, I'll put it in the description of this video once I find it, and y'all can go watch it. Right. But there's a lot of videos I've done on this to build my case. And, like I said, too, you have to change your paradigm, right? Because what they tell you is that the Euphrates River is over there in the Middle East. Now, logically speaking, in your spirit and in your heart, just like I do, that Israel wasn't going to live in that little sliver of land over there, right? It wasn't going to happen. Even the territory for Israel, if you took all of that from the Tigris and the Euphrates and all that stuff, Israel was, look, the Bible says Israel is going to be as large as the sand of the sea, right? You need some place as big as Africa to hold people that size. I mean, let's be real.
And the way the Holy Land is described in the Bible, do you think that place is a blessing? You think it's a land of milk and honey? Do you think it ever was a land of milk and honey?
They don't even have the rivers the Bible talks about.
Right.
All the animals.
They don't have they don't have the mountains.
None of it. Right. That's why it fits none of the descriptions of the Zion. None of it. But guess what? Ethiopia does, Lalibela does, the highlands of Ethiopia fits perfectly. They got the tradition, they got the culture. Eldad the Danite came from there. He talked about the Jews being there. And according to the current scholars, the Jews been in that area for 2,000 years. It makes no sense.
Now, there's a guy, he's a YouTuber, and he showed a map that was about 500 years old. And it had rivers running across the Sahara Desert. And so, we don't find those rivers on any of the maps today in the Sahara Desert. But some scientists use like some X-ray technology to be able to map out the Sahara Desert, and they found like riverbed.
There's a huge lake that I think it wasn't a lake. I don't know. It was miles long. It was a huge, according to the satellite images, it went for miles.
I was wondering, is it possible that maybe that stretch of land all throughout the Sahara, maybe that's where the Holy Land could be as well?
Well, then we would have to consider that Israel was a landlocked nation, but according to the Bible, it doesn't appear to be, right?
Right. I guess because he did say he'll turn your land into a desert.
Yeah, I mean, something cataclysmic happened not too far in the past. From what the research I've seen about the Sahara, it was lush green for a long time. So I don't know what happened there, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mystery.
Yeah, I'll have to look more into it. But yeah, I appreciate this topic because
let me ask you a question. Second, do you remember seeing those towers over there in Ethiopia where the churches are in the mountains and you got to climb up the mountains to get into the church?
Yeah, I remember that. They take a ritual bath and they have a church up there, and they will walk through it without I think in some areas you can't even wear shoes. You have to take off your shoes.
Yeah, that whole area, if you go look at the videos, those mountainous areas where the churches in the mountains are, they're desolate. Right, and the Bible talks about how the mountains of Zion would be desolate, right? So I mean, when you look at everything, because like for instance, I don't know if you saw the video where I showed there's this area where they have this church built in a cave, and it's floating on a river, right?
No, I hadn't seen that.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they have a cave, and they build a church inside the cave, and it floats on top of the river. And traditionally, according to them, people would go there to be healed, like the Pool of Siloam and the other things. So people, they say people used to live right outside that area in Ethiopia, and it was known for healing. And so they mentioned in the video that people would come from even Egypt to go and dip in that water to be healed. But now there's a church on it, and you got to lift up this little trap door to see the water. I'm like, come on, I mean, there's something going on here.
Yeah,
right?
They were hiding something.
Yeah,
that video's on a DC as well that you covered.
Yeah, I got a lot of videos that cover a lot of stuff y'all should watch, because you'd be convinced like I am. See, that's the difference. Like, I've been researching this stuff and digging. I have all the same questions you all have, right? And I go in and I dig and to answer those questions, because I say, well, if it's legit, if my theory is correct, then all of these pieces will fit. And so as I dig, the pieces fit. That's why I say y'all gotta look at the other videos if you want to see my viewpoint, if you're interested.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now that I have a break from school, I can go back and catch myself up on all of it.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Anybody got any final comments, Coach?
Yeah, I appreciate you brothers opening up the link, and I'm happy that I had the courage to actually click on that button and join. It's really, I'm at a loss of words, so I thank you very much. And for all those in the live chat who's tuning in, just hang in there a little longer. Uh, this is not going to last for much longer. I just have that gut feeling. And I guess one more thing for all those people who believe Utah's the promised land, I will make this official. I've been living in Utah for the last 9 years, and I will go on record and say this place is no promised land. We're actually leaving here at the end of the month.
Yep. It is no promised land, obviously, right?
It's crazy. I'm not gonna derail the whole discussion and just I'm not gonna talk about it hasn't been a nightmare living here, but I can see the signs that's happening and unfolding before my very eyes. And this community at large is just remarkable. The pride and the arrogance and the reprobate mentality that's throughout this valley. It's just nothing short of remarkable. It's actually quite frightening. And I figure I'll just step out the way, move to the side a little bit, and let the Most High handle his business.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm a go to the next person right quick, but hold on, I just want to share this with somebody who asked me. She says, Jacob, where in the scriptures does Yah tell us to flee to Africa? Well, one of the places to flee is Jeremiah 50, verse 8. Flee out of Babylon. I put it in the chat, right? Flee out of Babylon, leave the land of the Babylonians and be like the goats that lead the flock. Now, I know what your next question is going to be. Your next question is going to be, Yakoba, where does it say Africa, right? All right, I'm going to show you. It ain't going to specifically say Africa now. All right, so let me go there right quick. All right, this is Jeremiah 29, verse 14. Okay, it broke up into two. I will be fond of you, declares Yah, and will bring you back from captivity. I will gather you from all nations and places where I banished you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back to the place from which I carried you into exile. Where did you come from? Where did your ancestors come from? Where did they take you from in ships? Africa. Thank you. All right, Bantu Hebrew. Yeah, you're unmuted. Yeah, Bantu Hebrew. Any comments? All right, going once, going twice. All right, any final comments, Brother Don?
Can you hear me?
Man,
Oh,
y'all always bring the heat.
okay.
And it's always something to really ponder after you get off a broadcast with you brothers. And I'm gonna tell you, my favorite thing is lives. My favorite thing is lives. I love lives. But I enjoy your teaching videos too, and it just makes you ponder stuff. And what you brought out tonight was just like, man, I got to step back now and think about all the stuff I've been learning over the last couple of years, and looking at all the breadcrumbs that are coming out of that area. See, folks don't realize there's a whole lot of breadcrumbs. My whole thing is this: we that truly know that the Most High has called us into such a time as this, we seem to find each other on these internet streets, on these YouTube streets. We tend to find each other. And I got to say, why is that? Why does my circle look like this? Well, I believe that the Most High is really bringing out truth, and He's separating truth from falsehood, because we know in the last days there's going to be a lot of falsehood. And every time I click with somebody, and oh, you with that person, this person too, and that person too, and this person. Okay. And I know that these individuals are speaking the truth, because if you say something, I'm getting in that cipher just to verify it. Not like I haven't read this stuff over years and years and years, but the newer stuff I've been introduced to, and the new stuff that's being brought out. But it's also, see, it's not just you saying it. It's not just you guys saying it. There are other people that are bringing out the same truth on that same level, but you're not connected. They don't come on your channel and you don't go on their channels. But it's a beautiful thing, because the people that I'm associated with on these streets, guess what? We're all on the same channel. So folks need to pay attention to what's real and what's garbage, because there's a lot of, I'll just say it like this, camps that are telling lies.
Yep.
And they're going to lead you straight into hell.
Yep.
And so I can appreciate you, Minister. Man, I appreciate you guys. When the Most High brought y'all to my attention, I was like, okay, these brothers are bringing fire. So, Most High bless. I'm gonna land this plane. You use a man. Keep bring out some more. Bring out some more on this. Bring out some more on this, and shut everybody down.
All right. And if you haven't watched the other videos, make sure to go watch it on Odyssey. Bantu Hebrew.
All right. I'll kind of take the low hanging fruit, because I did this on a short notice. First of all, I've lived in Ethiopia, and from just my observation from there, I agree that there is Israelites in Ethiopia, Bantu, Hebrew Israelites. We also have the Cushites, but I don't think Ethiopia is the true Jerusalem. From the scriptures, I think one of your major arguments has been that the land of Israel, as it is today, will be too small, and you're right. First of all, the true boundaries of Israel go beyond the current or the present day, political state of Israel. Jordan and a couple other places are part of the larger Israel. In addition to that, when you go to the scriptures, if you look at Isaiah chapter 49, I'll read very quickly from verse 17. Thy children shall make haste, thy destroyers and they that made thee waste shall go forth of thee. Lift up thine eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together and come to thee. As I live, saith the Lord, thou shalt surely clothe thee with them all, as with an ornament, and bind them on thee as a bride doeth. For thy waste and thy desolate places, and the land of thy destruction, shall even now be too narrow by reason of the inhabitants, and they that swallow thee up shall be far away. So when you go back to the promised land, we shall be so many that the space will be kind of limiting. When you look at verse 20, it says, the children which thou shalt have after thou hast lost the other, shall say again in thine ears, the place is too strait for me. Give place to me that I may dwell. So your reasoning is correct that there'll be too many of us, but that does not justify the argument that true Israel is not around the current state of Israel today.
Yeah, well, Brother Bantu, I mean, we covered those exact same scriptures in other videos, and same thing with what we call Ethiopia, which is in the highlands, Lalibela. Think about all of the Israelites around the world that has been scattered and that's coming back, right? With what we call the second Exodus. Same thing is going to be too crowded. I mean, if you look at the people that lives in Ethiopia right now, it's pretty crowded. Now, bring back all of the people from around the world and put them in the area we call Lalibela. You have the same issues. And when you look at the other identifying marks in the scripture of Jerusalem, the Bible says that Jerusalem is surrounded by mountains, right? The Bible says that the mountains of Jerusalem are desolate. There are no mountains in what we call the Middle East. You have to go and look at all of the mountains that's over there in Jordan and everything. And even if you were to try to include those mountains as being part of what the Bible describes, then you have to deal with the fact that one, a lot of those mountains aren't desolate and it doesn't surround Jerusalem. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, the present Jerusalem might be wrong. You know, there's evidence to prove that the city may not be exactly where they say it's at. But as far as Israel being desolate, it is. You know, they use irrigation and they kind of fake, like, you know, try to show like Ezekiel 35 is already fulfilled, but it's not. Now, if we go to Ezekiel 36, verse 5, therefore, thus saith the Lord, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. Idumea is Edomites. Those are the Amalekites who are in Israel today, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. So we have the residue of the heathens, which are the Palestinians, the Ishmaelites, and the Idumeans, who have taken the promised land. And when you look at the words of Jesus, I don't need to go there. He said that, you know, some of them shall fall by the sword and then will be scattered to the four corners of the earth, and Jerusalem shall be trodden by the Gentiles until the days of the Gentiles be complete.
So can you read
So
verse
that-
8 for me, please?
Verse 8 of
The same chapter.
Ezekiel.
Yeah.
But ye, O mountains of Israel, ye shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people of Israel. For
Where are the mountains? Where are the mountains in the Middle East? The modern Jerusalem, where are they? The Bible says that Jerusalem is surrounded by mountains, correct?
Well, the present day, you know, the location of Jerusalem, I agree with you, it might be not exactly what it is today.
Well, that's my point. It's nowhere in the Middle East. And here's the other thing. When you look at the scriptures and it talks about it being occupied by oppressors, let's say, or Edomites, right? Africa is occupied by Edomites, right? They still control us, right? Hold on, listen. There's several military bases that is in Africa right now. The U.S., Britain, France, all of these military bases occupy Africa. The scriptures also teach that they divided God's land. When did they do that in the Middle East? But they have divided the land of Africa, right? According to the scriptures, Israel, what we call Israel, would be divided. The land of Africa has been divided. What? By the what you call that agreement, Minister Tayu?
Balfour.
I know they call it
Balfour.
Yeah, the Balfour. No, not the Balfour Agreement. It's the scramble for Africa when they divided up Africa.
You might be referring to the Conference of Berlin,
Yeah, that's
1885.
Yeah, the conference.
Berlin Conference. That's it. Yeah, you're right.
That the Middle East don't have that. It doesn't fit the descriptions. But go ahead.
Okay, so well, the point I was making there is that you know, Jerusalem shall be trodden of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be complete. And talking about Africa, I've lived in Africa. I know the kind of occupation you're talking about is different. You know, the part of Africa you're talking about is sub-Saharan Africa, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. That's where the 10 tribes, most of the 10, a great portion of the 10 tribes will be recovered from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, and not sub-Saharan Africa.
Well, what river is that?
Where I can tell you, like in Ethiopia, there's Gihon, there's several rivers there in Ethiopia.
But see, you're making an error right now, because when the scriptures talk about beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, right? It's not talking about the land that's called Ethiopia today. Ethiopia today was never called Ethiopia. The whole continent, or part of the most of the continent of Africa, was called Ethiopia. So not until the 1920s did Ethiopia get its name. Before then, it was called Abyssinia. Before that, it was called Aksum. So your logic right there is incorrect.
Well, yeah, well, that's in English, but because when we look at Hebrew, it will not be called Ethiopia. I know that. Well,
It's
because
called Kush. Yeah.
yeah. So that's when we look at English, we get confused. But if you look at Hebrew, the land of Cush is the land of Cush. So that's talking about the name Ethiopia is more of a matter of semantics. And when you look at Isaiah chapter 11, when you look at the maybe that let's quickly look at that Isaiah chapter 11, when the Most High is talking about recovering or us going back to the Holy Land. Isaiah chapter 11, very quickly here. Let's see. So, verse 11 here says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam." Now, Elam is Iran and India, and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Let me jump over to.
So let me ask you a question right quick.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
where do you believe Jerusalem is, or the true Israel? Where do you believe?
Well, the land, that general area there, which is like the center of the earth, it is technically Northeast Africa still. What they call the Middle East is basically not. It's on the same tectonic plate as the rest of Africa. So if we're
But
talking,
you do know Ghana is actually the center of the earth on the latitude and longitude.
Well, I know from talking about the Garden of Eden, it's not Ghana. Ghana in the Bible is Ophel, where they used to get gold from, and it used to be a distance from the actual land of Israel. When King Solomon talks about the gold of Ophel, that gold used to come from Ghana.
Well, yeah, we tend to agree with you on that. I was just letting you know that the latitude and longitude, the center of the earth, is right there off the coast of Ghana.
But they've played around with those, demarcations. They tried to play around with the sizes of the map of Africa and all. But verse 15 here says, "And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod." That is putting us right back to that area, the Red Sea area, when we are going back.
No, it's not.
Why not?
Explain to me how that puts us back in the Red Sea area. Explain that, please.
The Egyptian Sea. Where is the Egyptian Sea?
What? Wait, repeat that.
Where is the Egyptian Sea?
We're talking about the Red Sea. I know that, but look, here's the thing. So let's look at the original wording of that, right? And make sure that we're talking about, because right now, supposedly, we crossed the Red Sea, right? Our ancestors. But according to some of the translations, it's the Yam Suf, right? And the Yam Suf can refer to the Nile River. Even the history of the Bantu themselves say the Bantus, and even them, but some of them say they never crossed the Red Sea. They crossed the Yam Suf, which is the Nile. But let me let some other people on Bantu. No. Hold on. Big Red.
Yo, I just wanted to say one thing about what Bantu was saying about the land being tread down by the Gentiles. Just because you see black faces doesn't mean that they're not working for the Gentiles. Libya is a whole nation that was set up by the United States for the explicit purpose of having shell companies. It was run, and it is currently run, by black-faced melanated people, but they all report and do the bidding of of the oppressors. So even though you're seeing the black faces, you're seeing all the the different warlords and the different people that run through there, those are Europeans that are backing them. They're nothing but mere puppets. This is why every time you have a man like Magufuli, who was in Tanzania, who stood up to the Europeans and went against what they wanted, he died. All the people in Africa last year who went against the Europeans mysteriously led and had crazy, mysterious deaths. Everybody that didn't, that went along with it, they still sitting there in power. Why is that? Why they're right now fighting to stay in the land? Like right now, France is trying to fight to stay in there because the people are there saying, "Oh, they're having riots." They're rioting against the governments that are working with the Gentiles. So it is trodden down by the Gentiles. Unfortunately, most of our brothers and sisters in Africa, especially some of the older ones, don't understand the way the colonizers work. And you think that just because you don't see a white man sitting on your corner that you're not occupied. But Africa has been occupied for years.
I come from Kenya.
Oh, that definitely occupied.
Occupied. Yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
all they
You can't
whether
run
it's whether it's with a
know-
black face or with a company,
Well,
like Shell is
my-
all up in there. Shell is all over
my
there, all these different
tribe-
companies.
My tribe fought Esau. When you hear about the Mau Mau uprising, that our people, Israelites, we fought Esau. And we are in charge to a great extent. Well, the people in leadership, you're right. They are Herodians. They bow to Esau.
Or
But
you
it's not.
Chaga?
But let me give y'all another interpretation, a possible. Hold on one second. Let me give y'all another a possible interpretation of that scripture that Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Many times, or a few times at least, in the scriptures, Jerusalem is synonymous with the people, right? So you could also interpret it. I'm not saying it is, but you can also interpret it as the people will be oppressed or trodden down of the Gentile nations until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. That's another valid interpretation of it. So I don't think you can hold it on just that. But my question to you, Bantu, would once again be, show me the Jerusalem you're talking about surrounded by mountains, because I don't see it.
Okay, now what you just said, I agree with you on one part where you say that actually Jerusalem is a people before it's a city. Okay, and right now Jerusalem is scattered. Jesus said they shall be scattered. That time he was referring to a physical place. And after they are scattered out of there, the place will be trampled by heathens until the day, the days of the Gentiles be complete. So he was referring to a physical place. And I do know that the exact location may not be where they say it's at, but the general location is there. And actually, I think you guys alluded to that. I don't need to go there. But when you go to Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 32 through 38, when the scriptures are talking about going to the wilderness, it says that, and I think you referred to that when you were talking about the wilderness. I think someone asked about that, and you refer to it. But it's so telling because it does, in fact, and I think I've seen you also read from the war scrolls. Now, when you look at the war scrolls, they describe very, very accurately how some of the people come from the wilderness of the peoples. It talks about two wildernesses: the wilderness of Jerusalem and the wilderness of the peoples, which is Africa. And when you go to Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 32, just maybe that be our last scripture here, and it says, "And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all that ye say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries to serve wood and stone. As I live, saith the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I'll bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I'll bring you into the wilderness of the people. And there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with you, with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith the Lord God. And I'll cause you to pass under the rod, and I'll bring you into the bond of the covenant. And finally, verse 38, and I'll purge from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. I'll bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, as ye shall know that I am the Lord. So we see people being gathered back to Africa, but then the rebels are purged out, and from that point, going back to Israel, they'll not be allowed in. So
okay, so I'm a bit confused right now. So what is the point you're making? Are you saying that that makes the Middle East the land of Israel? Jerusalem. I'm confused.
Africa cannot be both. Okay, Africa as we know it today cannot be both the wilderness and Israel, because that's where we kind of agree that
But
it's the
that's
wilderness.
not true, because Israel is where the people are. There was no nation of Israel. Israel is the people, just like Jerusalem was the people, right? So look, this is the letter of Atreus, right? This is from someone who went to Jerusalem, and this is how they describe it. I've given you this description of the presence because I thought it was necessary. The next point in the narrative is an account of our journey to Eleazar. But I will first of all give you a description of the whole country. When we arrived in the land of the Jews, we saw the city situated in the middle of the whole of Judea on top of a mountain, not in a valley like today in modern Israel, on top of a mountain of considerable altitude. On the summit, the temple had been built in all its splendor. It was surrounded by 3 walls more than 70 cubits high and in length and breadth corresponding to the structure of the edifice. All the buildings were characterized by magnificence and in costliness quite unprecedented, right? And now I'm going to show you something else in here. The size of the city is of moderate dimensions. It is about 40 furlongs in circumference, as far as one could conjecture. It has its towers arranged in the shape of a theater with thoroughfares leading between them. Now the crossroads of the lower towers are visible, but those of the upper towers are more frequented. For the ground ascends, since the city is built upon what? A mountain. There are steps too, which lead up to the crossroads, and some people are always going up and others down, and they keep as far apart from each other as possible on the road because of those who are bound by the rules of purity, lest they should touch anything which is unlawful. It was not without reason that the original founders of the city built it in due proportions, for they possessed clear insight with regard to what was required. For the country is extensive and beautiful. Some parts of it are level, especially the districts which belong to Samaria, as it is called, which border on the land of Idumeans. Other parts are level, especially the district. Well, I'm sorry, I overread. Some parts of it are mountainous, especially those with it contiguous to the land of Judea. Now, this is during the time of the Ptolemy Empire, right? When they went there and they went to Jerusalem, and this is how he describes it. And he also describes it as right here. He seemed to me to have, let me see. No, that's not the point. Hold on, let me find it. As you can see from the descriptions that they have, it doesn't fit the modern area at all, not at all.
Well, I know one of the things, I don't know whether you watch this couple of people they have channels that show they walk around or travel by bus to different parts of Israel. There's a Kenyan who does that, and then there are some other Edomites who do that. They do mainly walking around Jerusalem and other cities. And one of the things that we immediately noted was that, the kind of mental notion you have about the country of Israel is very different when you get someone walking around or driving around and showing you places. And we commented, like, it looks so much like central Kenya, where I come from, because central Kenya is mountainous, but the major mountains is Mount Kenya and Aberdare ranges. But the rest of it there's lots of, they're not well-known mountains or ranges, but it's still very hilly. And that's how Israel looks like.
No, not modern Israel, not at all. Not at all. And look,
that's what I've seen. I don't know. I don't know how much I've watched of that, but that's what I've seen myself. I don't know.
No, modern Israel is hilly. It's not mountainous. There's no mountains.
Yes,
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
here's something else. It says the
Uh-huh.
whole of the floor is paved with stones and slopes down to the appointed places, that water may be conveyed to wash away the blood from the sacrifices. For many thousand beasts are sacrificed there on the feast days, and there's an inexhaustible supply of water, because an abundant natural spring gushes out from within the temple area. There are moreover wonderful and indescribable cisterns underground, as they pointed out to me, at a distance of 5 furlongs, all round the side of the temple, and each of them has countless pipes, so that the different streams converge together. And all these were fastened with lead at the bottom and at the side walls, and over them a great quantity of plaster had been spread, and every part of the work had been most carefully carried out. There are many openings for water at the base of the altar, which are invisible to all except those who are engaged in the administration, so that all the blood of the sacrifices, which is collected in great quantities, is washed away in the twinkling of an eye. Tell me how this can happen in the modern area of Jerusalem. There's no rivers running there. There's a bunch of rivers running in Ethiopia and in Lalibela and all of that. There's high mountains so that it can flow down. It's a highly defensible area as well, if you go read the letter of Atreus. So once again, the Bible doesn't identify the Middle East as looking or described as the way it is. And in the letter of Atreus, during the Ptolemy Empire, they don't describe it the way that you all are saying in the Middle East. It cannot be the land.
Yeah.
It cannot.
What you read actually, it mirrors what I read in the Ethiopic Bible, the Josephus account. And you're right in saying that Israel is not mountainous, it's hilly. And that's what I was saying, because you were asking me for mountains that surround Jerusalem. And I was telling you, I agree with you. I cannot, vouch for the current location of Jerusalem. But as far as the land, including Jordan and those surrounding places, I think I'm positive. And from my knowledge of Ethiopia, I lived there for 3 years. I don't think, the things, some of the, points you're making about Ethiopia really add up. The thing about Ethiopia is, the Israelites in Ethiopia have been used to fulfill the scriptures that say that the scepter shall not depart from Judah. That's why they were not colonized. And they have been used also to preserve some of the scriptures, because actually some of the best references I have, one of them is the Ethiopic Bible, and then there's other scriptures like the Hebrew Israelite scriptures, which are heavily based on the Ethiopic version.
So let me ask you a question, Brother Bantu. Have you gone to the Jordan River that's in Ethiopia?
Well, they call them with different names. Yeah, there is the Gihon River. There's I forget the name. It's been a while. It's been actually like.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you say the Middle East is the land or Jordan and all that stuff, it has to fit the descriptions, and they don't. They just don't fit the descriptions. Everything the Bible describes and the letter of Atreus describes is there in Ethiopia. Not only that, I have videos, and that's why I say go watch the videos that we have about Ethiopia being the true Holy Land. About on Lake Tana, there's an island, right, where these priests are, and they are of Jewish descent, of Jews, right? And they had the temple artifacts, right? And the archaeologists who went there validated that those were the temple artifacts. So I mean, once again, when you look at that and you look at the cultural traditions, like for instance, most people don't realize that the traditions that the Muslims have and how they bow and worship, they got that from the quote unquote Ethiopian. That's what we call them today, right? And so I'm just saying that, I mean, to me, to me, and I'll ask you, panel, you haven't proved to me at all that that's the land. I mean, at all, right? I mean, you quoted some scriptures, but they don't fit.
The issue of the replica of the Ark of the Covenant that's in Ethiopia, I'll tell you that even in Kenya, they say there is one on Mount Kenya.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about the Ark. I'm talking about the other temple artifacts, like the lavers and the trumpets, the silver trumpets. They actually have those, right?
We have that. We have those two in Kenya. We call it. It's called shofar in Hebrew. In our language, you call it shoro.
No. What I'm saying is that these are antiques, antiquated, not stuff that you have that you use currently. These are antiquated from the time period of the temples. I've showed that in my video. That's what I'm talking about. right?
Yeah, they were used to preserve. I
They're
agree with that.
ancient
I agree with that.
artifacts.
Yeah, they're ancient
Yeah, I agree.
artifacts.
Yeah, but that's
So,
why I said they were
so,
used to
so,
preserve.
so my
to
point
preserve
is,
certain, yeah.
my point
uh-huh.
is, where's
Yeah.
your evidence for the Middle East being the land? I mean, so far I haven't seen nothing.
I have told for the okay. First of all, you said Yom you called it Yom Suf, something like that.
Yam Suf, that's what they call it
Yam
now.
Suf. Now that's Hebrew. Yam in Hebrew is sea.
Yep.
So it's Red
Yeah.
Sea. We're talking about the same sea, Egyptian Sea, Red Sea.
That's what they call the
And
Red Sea, Yam
yeah,
Suf. But
yeah.
the
And
word is
so
Yam Suf, not Red Sea. It was the translators that translated it into Red Sea.
yeah, that's fine. And if that be true, so if your argument is correct, then it means that people will be coming from the Middle East to come to Africa as a promised land, which doesn't make sense.
No, it
Because
does
they are
make
safe.
sense. Because guess what? Guess what? There's some black Jews. Guess where? In Iran, in Elam,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
some
we read
black
that.
Jews over there in Iraq. There's black Jews everywhere because we've been enslaved in every nation.
We read that in Isaiah chapter 11. That's why I went there. But then verse 15 said, the Red Sea, or that area, will be
Yamsuf,
stood
not
up.
Red Sea, because the word is Yamsuf, and that does
Yeah,
not
I
say
know.
Red
Yam
Sea.
in Hebrew. Yam
It
in
means
Hebrew is
sea, yes.
yeah. But so it shows in. I mean, the way I understand Isaiah 11 is it shows that area will be dried up for people to cross and go back. And also, well, I don't have the scriptures off it right now, but the Most High, when He was rebuking our people, some of it is in Hosea and the other is in Jeremiah. He warned them not to go back to Egypt. He told them, if you go there, you'll be like dung. You'll be so despised. You'll be like nothing. He was warning them not to go back to the land of Ham or Cush. But yet they went. And that's why we see, of course, Deuteronomy 28 playing out in sub-Saharan Africa and all that. So, when you look at those scriptures, they don't line up with, because if you say that Israel is in Africa, then where did people flee? I mean, does it even make sense? And
Yes, it does make sense. Hey, wait, hold on. Hey, hold on. Wait. Explain to me why it don't make sense. Don't just say that. Explain to me why it don't.
I'll tell you. You mentioned the Chaga and our people. Our people actually, they moved from Israel and they progressed down south. And for a time, they were in Lalibela before coming to Kenya and moving further south. The Chaga, we are very close relatives with them, and the Taita and all that. And if you dig back our history,
yeah, the Chaga admit that they come from Lalibela. They admit that.
Yes, even our people, the Kikuyu.
So you're proving my point right there. The Chaga are Israelites. So you're proving my point.
Yes, they are. I agree with that. They are Israel, and I'm telling you that the Lalibela was just like a focal point where people stayed for some time.
Not according to the Chaga. They say that's where they originated from. I just talked to someone who just came from there, from the Chaga, and the Chaga told them that's where they came from.
Yeah, that's as far back as they can remember, because
I'm
they
just saying. I mean, you proving my point. You are proving my point.
We agree, as far as them being Israelites. But I'm telling you that they migrated through. Okay, they came down from Israel. Okay, and they settled, because when you look at the people in sub-Saharan Africa, we came to Africa in 721 BC, around there, during the Assyrian invasion. The other team that's in West Africa, which was you guys were taken from, that came after 70 AD. They ran to West Africa mostly. But the team that's in the other part of Africa, that was 721 group, and that's in Second Ezra chapter 13, and about the Ark of the Covenant, Maccabees says no one knows the actual location because the Most High hid it. So what we have are replicas in Lalibela, we have a replica on Mount Kenya, and
well, I have no doubt that the Ark of the Covenant is probably a replica. It maybe, right? We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure, right? We don't know. I mean,
but the scriptures tell us the actual Ark is hidden.
Well, what we call canon doesn't say that, but the Apocrypha does, right? But my point being is we don't know for sure, right? Because right now it's still hidden. We don't know. I haven't seen nothing, right? I just know what they say, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me whether or not the Ark of the Covenant is there or not, because it doesn't. It's not part of my case at all, other than the fact that if you tie in the fact that they did have antiques that went back way to the temple period, you know, in terms of the silver trumpets and stuff, they actually had that and validated that that's from the temple period, right? And I show that in my videos of the archaeologists who went out there and proved that. So I'm like, you have to show me all the stuff you're telling me. You have to show me that stuff over in the Middle East. Like, for instance, as I mentioned before, according to the scriptures, Lazarus, when he was died, they put him in a cave, right?
Mhm.
Show me those traditions in the Middle East, in that area where they are put in caves. There's no bodies put out there in caves. But guess what? You lived in Ethiopia. You can see in Lalibela and that a lot of dead bodies in caves,
Oh
right?
yeah. Okay.
So
yeah.
I'm saying that
Mhm.
everything fits that being the area. So let me stop here because I wanted to give the rest of the panel some final comment. So
Okay, just a quick conclusion in response to that. I just want to observe very quickly what you just said about the traditions not being seen in the Middle East. That land was left desolate, and you may not see any trace of much of what you're expecting. The fact that the Ethiopian, Hebrews, and others across Africa have names that are similar to Israel and all that, that's what we carried over to the various places. And when we moved, we tended to live or to prefer places that looked like Israel where we came from. That's why you found mountainous places and all that where we live.
okay, and before I get Second Exodus to get his final comment, I'm gonna show this again one more time, just to prove that the Middle East cannot be, assuming you believe some of these historical documents, right? All right, so where is it? Why isn't it showing up? Hold on. Let me drag it over here. Maybe to show up. There we go. Okay, so once again, back to the letter of Atreus. It says originally the country contained not less than 60 million acres, though afterwards the neighboring peoples made incursions against it, and 600,000 men were settled upon it in farms and 100 acres each. The river, like the Nile, rises in the harvest time. What river is that in the Middle East? And irrigates a large portion of the land near the district belonging to the people of the Ptolemies. It issues into another river, and this flows out into the sea. Other mountain torrents, as they are called, flow down into the plain, and encompasses the parts about Gaza and the district of Ashdod. The country is encircled by a natural fence, and it is very difficult to attack and cannot be assailed by large forces, owing to the narrow passes with their overhanging precipices and deep ravines and the rugged character of mountainous regions which surround all the land. Now, this is a description of somebody who went to the land, who saw the sacrifices and said that it is on a mountain, there's crevices, the water flows down, there's ravines and precipices. All of that is in Ethiopia, not in the Middle East. Please show me that. Now, it just so happens that the Bible aligns with this description of Jerusalem and not the description of the Middle East. That's all I gotta say. So Second Exodus, any final comments?
Yeah, after listening for a little while, I have to side with the brothers here because now I'm still kind of open-minded to where the location could be. But yeah, I mean, all the wild animals are in Africa, the continent. The deserts are in Africa. When Big Red said trampled over, when the Gentiles were trampled over the land, I look at the Middle East and see all the, the different nations over there. But he makes a really great point. He's like, colonization and puppet leaders could be the same thing as Gentiles trampling the land, parting the land. The Middle East wasn't really parted like that. I mean, the fact that we're arguing whether Abyssinia is really Ethiopia or the whole continent is a great example of, you know, how the land was just parted up. You know, who knows, you know, was Egypt really that small? Was Egypt bigger than, you
Well,
know,
that's another thing. We know Egypt was bigger than that because it included what we call Nubia as well. But go ahead, brother.
yeah, they found, I think they found an Egyptian statue as far as West Africa.
Exactly.
You know, there's questions about that. Why would they find Roman coins uh, as far deep as, you know, South Africa? You know, pottery from the Romans. Why would they find that, you know, that deep in there? And another question I have is, you know, is that really Babylon? Is that really Iraq?
That's it. Exactly.
Um, so yeah, you know, they had every opportunity to rename and change up names on the maps and things like that. And can I really trust the African history because they were colonized?
Yep. And then here's the other thing: the Bantu state, they never came across the Red Sea. They say they crossed the Nile. Now that's some of them. I mean, all the tribes are different, right? But you know,
Yeah, I really think that, you know, whatever they did during colonization, and you know, they had at least 1,000 years to change up history and change locations. And you know, I found one map that says Judea de Terra, and and that is translated, it's Latin, but it translates into the land of Judah, and that's located in the Congo. And when you look at that map, there's mountains surrounding that entire area. So, you know, that's what kind of, you know, that's what kind of make me think that, hey, you know, the continent of Africa is much more than we realize. I mean, you know, they got a lot of terrorist groups throughout North Africa keeping information hidden. Like, why won't they let us, you know, have access to the books in Timbuktu and have that
exactly.
translated? You know,
Yep.
what are they hiding? So, you know, a great job, guys. I mean, keep up the great work. I appreciate it. I always had a feeling that the continent of Africa is special. That's where you find all the lions and the ostrich, all the animals in the Bible. You find it in Africa,
And all the wealth.
and like Uganda, I think Uganda just hit
Yep.
a
$12 trillion.
yeah, and they're talking about making gold coins out of that. So while our dollar is you know, being devalued, they're, you know, Africa is starting to make money out of the natural resources on their continent.
Yep. And can you imagine, like, let's assume that they continue with digital and cryptocurrency, that they're going to be backed by resources like what Russia's doing. Russia's backing their currency with resources. That's going to put America at the bottom of the scale. You know what I'm saying?
Instantly.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
that's all I have to say. But keep up the great work, guys, and I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Second Exodus. Minister, tell you final comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the enemy's goal is to keep us away from the Holy Land, right? The last thing they want is for us to return. So they're gonna create false narratives to keep us just looking in the wrong direction, right? And everything, if you notice, the entire narrative is always anything but the Negro. That's the narrative, right? As Brother Second Exodus said, what about Babylon, right? Everything but the Negro, right? Nothing is in Africa. Africa has nothing special. You know, there's no history. This is what they've been telling us for a long time. But in reality, you know, they parted his land. They parted Africa. That fulfills the prophecy. So we know Africa is special to the Most High. The people of Africa we have a forgiving heart. We might fight each other. We might have tribalism in Africa, things like that. But as a people, we have a forgiving heart, right? And that's why our people in Africa, you know, love these Gentiles too much, because they have a loving spirit, right? So we tend to believe our enemy because we don't think that they can maneuver as bad as they actually do, right? But see, us who lived in the diaspora, who live among them, we know how they are, right? And so we know what they're capable of, and we know what they've hidden from us. So, you know, you have to start over from scratch as if you know nothing. And when you start just following the scriptures and looking at the landmarks, it all starts to point to Africa. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right, I'm gonna share this again. I mean, some of you all who follow this ministry have seen this, but just to add to the more of the evidence, right, from secular sources, right? This is the Diverga map, right? And this is Africa, the Diverga map. See this spot right here? That's in South Africa. They call it the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is depicted at the southernmost tip of Africa with the symbol of two concentric rings from which emerged the four rivers mentioned in Genesis. Now, this is from the Europeans, right? The delineation of Africa is unusual given that most European medieval world maps show South Africa as extending strongly eastward, or as with those based upon Ptolemy. So I just read you the Trias version of everything, right? So some people say Jerusalem is in South Africa, but I believe that's Eden, maybe just like this map. Who knows, right? But I do believe that Jerusalem is in Africa, right, in Ethiopia. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let Bantu Hebrew have some final words, and if you don't mind, please keep it brief. All right.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me on quite a short notice. I didn't have my scriptures together, but I just brought up what the Most High quickened to me very quickly. The way I see the distribution of Israelites in Africa, I think it looks like the way Jacob, when he was blessing his sons, that's kind of where we've fallen in the various parts of Africa. And that's the way I see it, because they were prophetically saying what will happen in the latter days. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
All right, thank you, Brother Bantu, and thank you all for coming on panel. I really appreciate it, and we all gonna agree to disagree on some things. You know my position. I've been researching this for about 2 years now, I guess. Got about 10 videos, and so if you disagree with it, that's fine. But I do suggest you go watch the other videos, and let me put the link in the chat so you can go to. It's pronounced Odyssey, but I always pronounce it as Odyssey.
I put it in there earlier.
Oh, you put it in there?
Yeah.
Okay. You want me to
and
put
one
it
thing I was thinking, what we can do is create a page on teotwministries.com. Create a page and put them there, because then you can access them if they're on Odyssey or DC. It doesn't matter. You can just follow that way. So we can put it in order. Yeah. So we'll do that and then add that to this video as well.
Yep. All right, fam. So if you want to, there's a ton of research on this that I put together if you want to watch it and see my position and why I say what I do. I think I built a good case for it. You don't have to agree. We could agree to disagree. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love you with the love of the Messiah.